his client, where there is a new lawsuit against a bank alleging racial discrimination. Let's listen right here on Live Now from Fox.
Along with attorney Bob Hilliard and John Martinez, who's a former judge, and my partners, attorney Chris O'Neill, attorney Natalie Jackson, and attorney Precious Chavez, who has been instrumental in working with Miss Linda Stevens, who is here with her husband, Mr. Stevens, who she has been a caretaker for because he is a Army veteran who's battling cancer. And as many of you know, I was just in Memphis, Tennessee yesterday for the homegoing services of Tyree Nichols and fighting against that injustice that saw that young man lynched by the Memphis Police Department. But now I'm here for equal outrageous injustice because we have to wherever we're talking about. This is what makes this so much outrageous, so infuriating. Miss Stevens is a black grandmother who was a victim of banking while black due to the discrimination of MidFlorida Credit Union. And this morning, we have filed a lawsuit against MidFlorida Credit Union for banking while black against this black grandmother, this retired teacher and educator from Polk County, Florida. And when you think about the facts, I want you to try to think if this was your mother. Because we don't think this would have happened to everybody's mother. But when you understand the reality that banking while black is real in America, you understand some of us know, but by the grace of God, it's not our mother. And we have to challenge this banking while black, not just here in Central Florida, but all across America, because this implicit bias has terrible consequences for our people, and it had terrible consequences for Miss Linda Stevens, who you're going to hear from in a few minutes. She went to the ATM to deposit $600 so she could make sure she could pay her mortgage that was coming up. Most people pay their mortgages like we all do, show it on our account, and then we hit buttons on computers. She was trying to be responsible. She has lived long enough to understand when you're black in America and you don't pay your bills on time, they will foreclose on your house. And so she was trying to be responsible. Miss Stevens, 70 years old, went, deposited the $600 in the ATM, then saw that it wasn't showing in her account the next day. She went to the bank, told them she deposited $600 with the receipt, had her proof, because we have to have receipts, and they told her that, okay, they're working on it to come back later that afternoon. So she comes back again, and they tell her they're still working on it. Now, she saw the ATM person working on the machine. They all knew they were having problems with the ATM. And so she comes back a second time saying, hey, I really need this money. I gotta pay my mortgage. I can't be late on my mortgage. I deposited the money. I need to pay my mortgage. They tell her, well, we're working on it. Come back again. A third time. She's been responsible and awfully patient. She comes back a third time. And I think Ms. Stevens, Attorney Chavez, they told her that they acknowledged the ATM engineer had the $600 in cash. They acknowledged the problem was their problem. And she said, well, just give me my money. I gotta pay my mortgage. I put it in my account, credit my account. I gotta pay my mortgage. They don't do that. And she said, I'm not leaving here without my money. I gotta pay my mortgage. They did say this 70-year-old grandmother is so belligerent, so outrageous. This lady who's saying, I want my money, that instead of them trying to deal with her as a valued, respectable customer,
50 years.
for 50 years, she's been banking at that bank, a 50-year customer. You know, this was started as a teacher's credit union. This was started as a teacher's credit union. She's a teacher. This is the person who is the ideal customer for you. 50-year customer who said, I just want my $600 that you all have told me that you have. Give me my money or credit my account. But I'm not leaving here a third time without some kind of satisfaction. She couldn't get any satisfaction because they called the police. And when the police got there, they said somebody said to them, and we have to listen to the 911 calls or whatever the bank called, and they said something about a gun. So the police asked her something, they saw a gun. Miss Stevens says, I don't have a gun. I've never owned a gun. I don't believe in guns. And the police say, if you say gun one more time, we're gonna arrest you. And she said, what are you talking about guns? Who said anything about guns? And they arrest this grandmother and drag her out of that bank. During the arrest, her nose is fractured. They didn't take her to jail. I mean, think about your mother now. They take her to jail. Nobody's notified her family because she is resisting and protesting, saying, hold on, I didn't do anything wrong. They got my $600 and they dragging her. She said, I don't want to go to jail. I didn't do anything wrong. They throw her in jail and they say, because she is resisting so much that they put her on suicide watch. They take off all her clothes and throw her into a jail cell naked for the night, where she's on the floor with all kind of spots and liquid on the floor, ants crawling. She's there for how long, Miss Stevens?
A whole day, about a day and a half.
A day and a half. She's in jail. Her family hasn't been notified anything.
I wasn't given a telephone call.
Wasn't given a telephone call. And this is all because MidFlorida Credit Union did not respect her as a valued customer. We don't know why. Was it the color of her skin? Was it they didn't believe her, even though she had her receipt and the engineer for the ATM said he had her money? Why wouldn't they make this right? And then after she gets out of jail, and you're gonna hear from Ms. Stevens and Attorney Chavez, as I understand it, a bank official comes to her and apologizes. Bought her an orchid with a $300 gift card.
When was this?
The day after she gets out of jail, and said that this never should have happened. This is what they tell her. They say, we're gonna cover 1 month of your mortgage. But she had to be humiliated, her nose fractured, and in jail for over 30 hours butt naked for banking while black. We will not accept you doing our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers like this. If you don't respect our black mothers, you don't respect us as black customers, and you don't respect us with our black dollars, then MidFlorida Credit Union and any other bank in America do not expect to get our business. We will not accept this. Ms. Stevens is not alone. She's standing with a whole nation of people who reject banking while black in America. And so at this time, you're going to hear from Attorney John Martinez, who's going to talk a little bit about the lawsuit that was just filed this morning. And then you're going to hear from Miss Linda Stevens, this proud black woman who has never had a run-in with the law in her life until MidFlorida Credit Union had her arrested for banking while black. And you'll hear from her husband about the toll, the mental toll this has had on their family. And then we'll take your questions, because she matters. She matters. Attorney Martinez, great lawyer from Texas who we do a lot of banking by black work together.
Thank you, Ben. You know, this case, it breaks my heart, because these types of things shouldn't be happening in our country today. You know, I look at Ms. Stevens and I do see my own mother. I see a hard-working woman supporting her family, taking care of her husband, taking care of her parents. These types of things shouldn't happen. And it breaks my heart that it does happen. You know, it used to be the golden rule, right? It was treat other people the way you want to be treated. And if we did that, these types of things wouldn't happen. But that doesn't happen all the time. We see it doesn't happen. But now we've got laws. We've got the golden law that says you can't discriminate against people because of their color. You can't. You can't take people's money without any kind of thing that you're giving for it. You can't just take people's money. And when you do, people have the right to go back and ask what's going on. There was evidence that she had done everything right. You know, so why is she being treated the way she's being treated? And that's what we're going to get down to. That's what we're going to look at. Because in this country, these types of things shouldn't happen, but they happen every day. And these are the things that we want to make sure don't happen. And the only way we can make sure that things like this don't happen is we can hold the people accountable that do these things. And that's what we're going to do with Ms. Stevens. We're going to make sure that the people that treated her the way that they did, that made her suffer for what she suffered, are held accountable. And that's what this lawsuit's going to do. And I know that we've got a long way to go for things to be right. But we're going to keep fighting every day. And every person that this happens to, just like Ms. Stevens, we're going to fight so that maybe one day this type of thing doesn't happen. Ms. Stevens, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, ma'am. I'm so sorry. And we are going to fight to do what we can for you.
Thank you so much, Judge Martinez. Lieutenant Colonel Rufus Stevens. Because this didn't just affect Ms. Stevens, this affected their entire family. The inhumanity, the disrespect, I mean, the human dignity. I want you all to really try to think about your mother. Some people can't fathom it would be their mother. But there's those of us who know this is all too possible. Any given day. The fact that this is a $600 issue. This is a multi-billion-dollar bank. $600. They put this black grandmother through all of this for $600. How outrageous is that? They could have made this right the first moment. We know, Ms. Stevens, we're having problems with our ATM. We understand you want to pay your bill on time. We understand. Let us make this right. It could have been that easy. Just one person showing some respect, some dignity, some humanity. One person. One person. Mr. Stevens, do you want to say a word? And we're going to have Mr. Stevens talk before you hear from Ms. Stevens. Lieutenant Colonel Stevens, Army veteran.
Good afternoon. As was said, my name is Rufus Stevens and this is my wife. To give you a little background about when the money was deposited, it was deposited about 1 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. Excuse me.
Take your time.
And the machine told my wife that something is wrong. How much did you put in? And to me, this is critical. She put in 4 $100 bills and 10 $20 bills, $600. So when it didn't give her, didn't acknowledge that, and it said something was wrong, she came back, and I said, well, no problem, you got a receipt. They show you on the ATM video, and we can go in the morning. Simple problem. She went that morning, and that's when all of the runaround started. One of the questions that I've had is how many people in that particular bank deposited $600 between 12 o'clock and 8 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. Think about that. Think about that. I bet you, and I would bet even more to say that no other deposit was $600 with 4 $100 bills and 10 $20 bills. Almost impossible, but they had the money. The ATM video showed her as being the person that put the money in. They had the receipt. Why? Why did this occur? The only reason logically that I can think about is the color of her skin. She was almost 70 years old when this happened. I'm a Vietnam veteran. Highly decorated, Distinguished Service Cross next to the Medal of Honor. I believe in America. I believe in justice. But I don't like nobody to mistreat anybody that I care about, especially my wife. I feel there has to be some kind of retribution, or some kind of way to remedy this situation.
Yes, sir.
Because otherwise, if it's not, then that says that the America that I fought for was a fraud.
My Lord.
I didn't almost give my life fighting for my fellow soldiers and for this country to have my wife tolerate something like this. I want all of you who have mothers to think seriously, would you have wanted something like this to happen to your mother when it shouldn't have? It could have been resolved in less than 5 minutes.
Amen. Less than 5 minutes.
And I want you all to think about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Colonel Rufus Stevens, the husband of Miss Linda Stevens, this black grandmother who was arrested because MidFlorida Credit Union called the police on her. What she believes and her family believes is another example of banking while black in America. And thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Stevens, for fighting for America where your wife would not be discriminated against for banking while black. And we applaud you. Now, you will hear from Miss Linda Stevens to tell you her ordeal in her own words. I tried to paraphrase it for you, but she lived it. And this is going to be painful for her to tell you, and she's going to try to speak as loud as she can so you all can hear her. But she's going to tell you about what she had to endure because MidFlorida Credit Union ATM screwed up. She did nothing wrong, but asked for her money, as she had every right to do. We will not tolerate banking while black from any bank in America. Miss Linda Stevens.
Good afternoon. This traumatic experience for me started on April 13th. And just to give you a little background of me, I'm a retired educator from Polk County Schools. I taught school. I was an assistant principal some 12 years. I was over the health curriculum for Polk County Schools for middle and high school. I'm very active in my church. I'm the immediate past president of the Polk County Retired Educators. I'm a community activist, and I care about people. I'm going to try to fill in the blanks that attorney and Rufus left out. When I went to that ATM, Rufus and I went to the ATM together, as we normally do. I looked later at the ATM, and there were more than 8 cameras up under the shed of the ATM machine. So I knew they had captured me on one or more of those videos. And when I left, and Rufus said, well, Linda, go back after they opened at 7 o'clock. And I went back up there and I had to talk with the cashier. I told him the story. He asked me, did I have a receipt? And I said, yes. I showed him the receipt. Finally, he says to me, I can't help you. You need to talk to my supervisor. Of course, when the supervisor came, I shared my story. I showed him the receipt. And he said to me, he said, if you look behind you, you can see the truck of the man here working on the ATM machine because something had happened with the machine. He said, you need to fill out a dispute form. I said, I'm not disputing with myself that I put the money in the machine. He said, but you need to come back, and he said, that's the way it is, that's the policy. You need to come back and fill out a dispute form, go on the inside. So after 9 o'clock, I had to go back to MidFlorida and went and signed in and spoke with this lady. I told her my story. She said, can I see your receipt? I gave her my receipt. She made a copy of it. She said, you need to fill out a dispute form. And I told her I'm not disputing that I put my money. She said, but that's the policy. So she filled out the form, and of course I signed it. And she said to me, she said, give us 2 hours, not more than 3 hours, and everything will be in order in your account. So I left there and I went home. I waited all day and checking my account online. There was nothing in my account that indicated they had placed that money, credited my money to my account. I waited all night. I waited till the next day. And about 10:30 that next day, I went back to the bank and I talked with the same teller, the first teller I had spoken with, and he said, I can't help you. And he gave me the supervisor again, and the supervisor came over and I asked him, I said, where is my money? I said, all I want is my money. Where is it? I said, you told me that the ATM man was working on the machine and you sent me in to fill out a dispute. Where? And he turned his back and walked off. By this time, the lady in the office, who I later was identified as the head teller, came and she said, ma'am, she said, I can help you in my office. And I went in the office with her and she asked me what was going on, and I shared that same story with her.
Again.
And the receipt. And she said, well, ma'am, she said, you know how bureaucracy is. I said, no, I don't. I said, I don't want anything MidFlorida's got. I said, I only want my money. So she said to me, she said, I don't know what happened with yesterday, but she said, I'm going to go ahead and just call the guy again to verify that he found your money. She called the technician. The technician told her, yes, I found her money in the machine. I found the $401 bills and the 1020s in the machine. Yet, when she got off of the phone, she said to me, she said, you're still going to have to give us 2 or 3 days to get your money in your account. So when the manager had come over to the office, and she had another lady with her, and there was a police officer who came and stood directly to my right in the back of me. And she said, you just need to go ahead and leave, and we'll get your money straightened out. And I had to tell her the story as well. And so as we were sitting there, and I said, I just want my money. I need to pay my bill. I want my money. That's all I want. I said, I gave you cash money. I said, I didn't put checks in the machine. I put cash money in the machine. I just want my money. I said, that's all I want for MidFlorida.
Yes.
So she said, if you don't calm down, we're going to have to call the popo. So we were sitting there talking, and I don't know what happened, but then a few minutes later, another police officer came in the room with his hand on his gun and said, I thought I heard her say, I have a gun and I'm going to shoot you.
Unbelievable.
I said, what are you talking about? And the most painful part of that was that office manager, that head teller, that other lady that was in there, the police officer standing next to me, nobody said nothing. I was the only one to speak up for myself. And all I could think when he came in with his hand on his gun was that my life was in danger. My life was being threatened. But he was ready to take action because he thought. I said, sir, I don't have a gun. I said, I never owned a gun. I said, I never even shot a gun. What in the world are you talking about? Are you crazy? And he said to me, if you say the word gun one more time, I'm going to arrest you. And I turned around and looked up at him and I said, gun? He said, you stand up and I'm going to arrest you. And he snatched my purse. He handcuffed me behind my back as tight as he could. And it was as tight as he could because my wrist was swollen when I got the handcuffs off. And he walked me out to his car and set me in his hot car for some 15, 20 minutes. In a hot car, 11:30, 12 o'clock in the day, while he and the other officer checked me out. I heard the other officer tell him, she's never been in trouble. She's clean, is what he said. And yet I sat there and I sat there and I sat there. Finally, the police officer comes to the car, drives me to the station, and when he gets to the car, I'm just traumatized. But at this time, I'd never been arrested. I never had any dealings with a police officer. I'd never been to court for anything outside of a speeding fine. And when we got there, he said, you got to get out of the car. I said, I'm not getting out of the car. You're not going to shoot me because it was just he and I. And he's sitting there with his hand on his gun. It's his little monkey stick thing. He said, you got to get, I said, no. He said, you're going to get out of this car one way or the other. And he opened the door, and he took his hands and pulled me out of the car and dropped me on the concrete, scratching me all up and bruising me. And he pulled me halfway into the building, and then when he got a wheelchair and put me in that and took me in this room with my hands still cuffed behind my back, I was quite helpless, and took me into this little square room with my hands still cuffed behind my back. I sat in this little room with my hands cuffed, and he came and he asked me, he said, are you going to talk to me? And I didn't say, I wouldn't say anything. I didn't want to say anything for fear that he would take it the wrong way and take my life, because nobody was there but he and I. So finally he came, and another police officer, because I had sat on the floor, I was trying to get some relief from my arms. My arms had been behind my back for a long, long time, for about an hour by now. And because I'm not as young as I used to be, my arms was really, really hurting. And so they put me in a wheelchair and rolled me out. First they picked me up, one took one arm and one took the other arm and one took my legs, and they took me outside to the car and set me in a wheelchair right beside the door. And so they both took my shoulders and threw me into the car. And when they did, because the seats are not cushioned, my head hit real hard on the seat. And that's when my nose was fractured. And I lost my shoes, my shirt flew up. And he looked at me, but he didn't say anything. So when he took me over to the sheriff department, the lady came out and she said, when she looked at me, she said, let me look at you and see how badly you're hurt. And so she looked at my bruises and checked me out and pulled my shirt down, and she took me in, and they took me in a little room, and they took all of my clothes, my bra, my underpants, everything, and put me on some other clothes. And then I was transported to the jail, and when I got there, they were feeding the other inmates that were there, and they said, well, do you want to feed her? Because this time it was about 4 o'clock. And she said, if she don't talk to us, she can't eat. And of course, I didn't eat.
Unbelievable.
So they asked the other lady, said, well, what do you want us to do with her? Where do you want us to put her? And this big fat officer lady says, I don't want you to put her anywhere where I can't see her. She said, you need to call upstairs and get the supervisor down here. So it was 2 ladies came down, 2 supervisors. The first supervisor came over and looked at me, and she took her foot and kicked me just as hard as she could on the shin of my legs. Then the other supervisor came, and I have a heart condition. I sleep with a CPAP. I have high blood pressure. She took her fist of her hand and did it like this and nuzzled me in my chest twice, just as hard as she could. Then she took her fingers and put it under the tender part of my arm and pinched me just as hard as she could. And I kind of glanced up at her, and she told them, she said, well, she's all right. She glanced up at me. They said, well, how do you want the supervisor? She said, I'll deal with him. So they took me by the arms and dragged me on the floor, and as they put me in the cell, they took my clothes at the same time. I was on this cold floor with nothing on. There was no pillow, there was no real blanket, there was about 3 little scripts like this in there. There was no chair, there was a little toilet like this, and a little basin about this big. And there were things crawling on the floor. There were brown spots on the floor that looked like poop. There was white-looking paint on the floor, and a little tiny window up at the top. And I stayed there, and they came, and I didn't eat anything. I didn't go to the bathroom. I didn't eat anything the whole time I was there. I ate about 2 bites of a little corn dog about this long before I got out. But then I finally went to sleep, and I kept waking up and somebody would walk by and check on me. And the next morning they came, and the lady said, she said, who all wants to take a bath? And when she got to me, she said, well, we know you don't want to take a bath. And she walked on by my cell. So this other lady came, and she says, well, we're seeing the psychiatrist today. She said, you think you want to see the psychiatrist today? And I told her, I said, I haven't had a telephone call. I haven't had anything. Nobody, my family doesn't know where I am or anything. So she went to the next cell and got the lady out of the next cell. And finally, a lady came about 3 hours later, and she came to me and she said, Miss Stevens, she said, they're telling us that you're crazy or you're suicidal. She said, you're not. She said, you're not crazy, are you? I said, no. And I kind of told her how I had ended up there. So then about 2 or 3 hours later, a lady came and said, do you want to go to first appearance? Of course, I had to ask her what was first appearance. I said, I don't even know what first appearance is. And all of this happened to me because of that telephone call at MidFlorida. And so she explained to me that I would be going to a judge, but when she came, she brought me these clothes to put on, and it was a black outfit, and the top had these flowers caked up on it, and I smelled the crouch, and it was stinking. And I said, ma'am, I'm not putting on those filthy pants next to my vaginal area. I said, I'm just not going to do that. She said, but the only other thing I have is a 3X. And so she went and she got the 3X. I said, if it's clean, I'll put it on. And she got in and they took me to the court, and the lady told me, she said, they were debating whether or not they were even going to charge you. So when I got to the judge, she said, you had bail of $550. She said you needed to have called somebody to have them to come and set that out. But I found out my husband was already trying to take care of that. So when I went and stood before the judge says to me, he said, Ms. Stevens, he said, we're not going to charge you bail. Your bail has been dropped. All you need to do is go home and call in and wait for your court date. All because I went to MidFlorida asking for my money. So then I go back to the jail, and he tells me stay 500 feet from the MidFlorida, don't go out of state, don't get drunk or get high. So when I go back to the jailhouse, they again tell me, we got to take your clothes and you still got to stay in this cell naked. And I was there about 3 or 4 hours before I was dismissed, but in the midst of being there those additional 3 hours, I stood up and looked, and there was a male person in one of the other rooms who apparently had come in to take out the garbage or something. He's standing there gazing at my naked body. And you're talking about embarrassed and humiliated. I was traumatized. I was like, oh my goodness. And he just stood there. He didn't, when I looked at him, he just there. He was standing there, just getting him a good eyeful. And I stepped back out of view into the corner. And finally, they came and they brought me my clothes, and they brought me this outfit I had on, and they took me to the jail, to the sheriff department, and they gave me my clothes to put on, and they said, we can't give you your pocketbook until you exit the building. And as I was getting ready to exit, they said, your husband's called and he's got the information, and they say, but before you walk out of that door, we need to take your mugshot, because they had not done any of that. And at that point, that was when they took my mugshot and had me to fingerprint on the Xerox machine, all because I asked for my money. All of this happened to me.
Unbelievable.
And I left, and then my husband and my daughter picked me up, and my husband took me out, and before we could get back home, there was a call from MidFlorida on my cell phone that I had missed. There was a call on my husband's phone that he had missed. There was a call on our landline that had been missed, all from MidFlorida Credit Union. And she said that her name was Valerie Dollison, and she wanted to come out and talk with me about what had happened, because they had looked at the video. And I asked her, I said, how do you know? She said, well, we looked at it, we saw everything that happened, and we know we want to talk to you about the situation. So I said, I haven't been in 500 feet of MidFlorida. Why do you want to talk to me? She said, well, we want to talk to you. It'll be okay. I just want to come and talk with you. So when she came, she had this white orchid in her hand, and she said, this is for me. She said, this is not for MidFlorida. And so she said to me, she said, I'm here on behalf of MidFlorida Credit Union. And she kept emphasizing, I'm here on behalf of MidFlorida Credit Union. She said, we were wrong. She said, if we had done what we told you we were going to do the day before, you would not have been back at MidFlorida. I said, you are exactly right. She said, we're trying to understand how you felt and how you're feeling. And she said, the president wants to know how you feel. And I said, if you want to know how I feel, I said, think about the fact that if it was your mama, I said, tell the president to think about the fact if it was his mama,
exactly,
or somebody that they knew and loved or something like that had come in just to ask for their money. I said, that's all I was asking for. She said, well, we were wrong. She said, they sent you this $300 gift card. And I was like, what? She said, a $300 gift card. And she left it on the table. And she said they're paying one, called it a goodwill offering of one house payment for you. And they said, if you need anything, let us know. They said, our attorney is going to take care of everything, that they're going to make this thing wholly disappear, all disappear. And so later, when time came for me to go to court, the court called me and said, they said somebody was trying to take care of what happened to you, but it was a thing where it went against their interests and they couldn't do anything. But they said, anyway, the state attorney's office had just dropped the whole case. So I got to say absolutely nothing. But I was just traumatized. I was humiliated. I was dehumanized, all because I wanted my money that I had placed in a bank that I had been banking with at that time some 47 and a half years. They had financed my house, and to pay my mortgage was what I was trying to do, because they have my house mortgage now. I have a truck financed through them now. And I went through all of that just to, I don't understand. And right now I have a psychiatrist. I've seen my psychiatrist that I've had to pick up since this happened. She said that I'm dealing with post-traumatic stress syndrome. She's got me on 3 meds. She's got me on 2 to help keep me level. She's got me on 1 to help keep the nightmares away. I have a therapist who teaching me all these games and things to help me to deal with this situation when it comes up, because it constantly comes up. And I made the mistake of watching this thing on television the other night where this young man was brutally killed by the police. That thing just went all over me because his hands were handcuffed behind his back. And I shouldn't have watched it, but I went through it all back over again, and I saw my therapist on yesterday. I was with my psychiatrist last week. And it's just more than I can deal with.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens, for bearing your heart. I think she said it best, how humiliating, because she wanted her money from MidFlorida Credit Union. This bank, who she had banked with for almost 50 years, obviously didn't respect her as a valued customer and called the police on what she and we believe was banking while black in America. We'll take your questions at this time, as many as we can.
Mr. Crump, can you explain to people why you believe this is about race? If the allegations are true, why wouldn't this just be a terrible case of customer service?
You know, Lewis, that's the one thing we always grapple with, because we look for videos, like with these police cases, we look for videos where the banks are arresting white citizens who are not doing anything but saying we want to be treated as a valued customer. We don't see those videos, but how many videos have we seen of black people being handcuffed in banks and dragged out for saying we just want our money? And what happens every time on these cases, it turns out they say, we were wrong. We apologize to the black customer. That's why we believe that banking while black is real. And we don't believe Miss Linda Stevens would have had the police called on her if she were a white woman.
Will you be filing complaints against the sheriff's office?
We're contemplating getting full justice for Miss Linda Stevens, and we believe that the bank is going to interplea the sheriff's office.
I did.
But she filed a complaint with Internal Affairs against the sheriff's office about the way she was treated. We believe the proximate cause of all the injustice suffered by Linda Stevens was because of MidFlorida Credit Union accusing her of being belligerent because she wanted her money. Y'all understand, race in America, you can be a 70-year-old grandmother, great-grandmother, and say, I want my money, and then they say, oh, she is intimidating us. A 70-year-old grandmother? You gonna call the police? I mean, it's why didn't they just give her money back? I mean, the engineer said I had the money. Why call the police on this grandmother? I mean, it's outrageous. Any other questions?
The report says.
We're going to take our final break here of this hour as that news conference wraps up right there. No statement yet from the bank, and if there is one on this lawsuit, of course, we'll bring it to you right here on Live Now from Fox, everyone. We are going to take our final